It's a very impressive place.
So this is the campus.
Beautiful.
In Parliament, delegates and officers of Konrad-Adenauer-Stiftung, administrators, faculty, students, and again to all of you.
Thank you, Father Villarin. Dr. Hans-Gert Pöttering is requested to approach center stage for the reading of the citation by Father Jose M. Cruz of the Society of Jesus, Vice President for University and Global Relations.
The dream of a united Europe has long held the imagination of statesmen and visionaries. Thinkers and doers like Immanuel Kant and his idea of the Eternal Peace Congress of 1795, Giuseppe Mazzini, Victor Hugo, Giuseppe Garibaldi, John Stuart Mill, the Marquis de Lafayette, and even such disparate voices as William Penn and Mikhail Bakunin, all looked forward to a union that would achieve the triumph of liberty, justice, and peace in the international relations of Europe, and to render civil war impossible among the shaped by a Christian conception of man as taught in Catholic social teachings. From this flows his fundamental political conviction that the goal and principle of all political activity should be the dignity of every single human being. In 2007, he guided the European Parliament to pass a resolution on justice for the conffered women, urging the Japanese government to formally apologize and compensate the victims as well as families of the women forced into
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear students. To look at all of you, this is a beautiful picture. I think this is the most beautiful picture I have seen this year. Thank you so much. Of Jesuit academic institutions of excellence, the Ateneo de Manila University. Dear President, dear Father Villarin, in your letter you wrote to me, and we heard it in these excellent speeches again, you wrote to me that I have the honor to get this degree because of my work for the integration of Europe, dedication in creating a more efficient and democratic European Union, and my advocacy of human rights and intercultural and interreligious dialogue. And I was told when I arrived last night by Dr. Peter Köpping, our representative here of the Konrad-Adenauer-Stiftung, and the time does not allow to speak about it, and each generation has its challenges. But the great miracle today, and we are here in a university, in a famous university in Asia, in the Philippines. Today in the European Union, the law has the power, and not the power dictates the law. And that means we might have differences, but we solve our problems and challenges on the basis of law. My second point, democracy. In the own party, you don't have only opponents. You have friends. And many friends said to me in 1979, why do you want to become a member of the European Parliament? You have nothing to say there. This was true at that time, not totally, because as a politician you are hopefully convincing by your speeches. But we had, and this was true, no legal power at all. That meant that the governments, the ministers, and they very often were represented by officials, and I have great respect for officials, but the officials had not a mandate to make laws. But it started like that, and we said the European Parliament will fight to become a legislator. And with all the treaties, now the European Parliament is influential and a powerful body. And I am very thankful, and this was mentioned, that I could prepare when I was vice chairman of our group, and I had the honor not only to speak to the president, but to the vice presidents of the university as well. They are very influential because they do a lot of work. The president, of course, as well, but the vice presidents, they have their own responsibilities. And I had the chance to formulate for our political family our demands for the Treaty of Amsterdam, which came into force in 1999, and it was a great step forward to European democracy and the European parliaments. In the European Parliament, the President of the Commission, José Manuel Barroso, the President of the European Council at that time, the Portuguese Prime Minister Sócrates, and myself as President of the European Parliament. And I think this might be the most important signature I have given in my life. Because in this Charter of Fundamental Rights, we have the description how we see the human being. And these are our beliefs, the dignity of the human being. And the human being is a person. And this is our Christian belief. A person is responsible for herself, for himself, and we have a responsibility for the society, for the community. And so you have in the description of the word of person the principles of solidarity and subsidiarity. My next point is, and it was mentioned and I'm thankful for that I chaired the working group in my group as vice chairman of our group between 96 and 99 of enlargement. And the governments at that time wanted to have Estonia in the European Union. They wanted to have Poland in the European Union, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Hungary and Slovenia. But they did not mention Latvia and Lithuania. And I think this was not right. And so we in our group developed the idea to include Latvia and Lithuania as well. And I never forget that I wrote a letter to the then Chancellor, Helmut Kohl, and if I understand it correctly, dear President Father Pöttering, he was the last German receiving the honorary doctorate in 1996, and I'm very honored to be, in this sense, his successor. And I will try to call him this afternoon, and if you allow me to bring your regards and your regards to him and his wife, this would be most welcome. Do you agree? Okay. History. But we have done something, not together, but in the same line. I understand that you were awarded with a book for Outstanding Book Award for your book, Disturbing Climate. And when I read this, I was a little bit proud because, and I say it very modestly, when the French had the presidency in the second half of 2008, Nicolas Sarkozy and his Minister for Environment asked me as President of the European Parliament to everything that we finalize the legislation against climate change until the end of 2008. And we succeeded, and my colleagues were not so happy. I remember the chairwoman of the Industrial Committee, my good friend Angelika Niebler, she was not so happy because they had to work hard in the committee. But we finalized the legislation, and then it takes some time. The European procedures take some time. I think in the Philippines everything goes very quickly, but this may be an extraordinary situation. And so I had the honor to sign with the then Deputy Prime Minister of the Czech Republic. They had the presidency. I had the honor to sign the 23rd of April of 2009 the European legislation against climate change. And so, dear President, dear Father Pöttering, this brings me in a very modest way a little bit nearer to your studies you have done, and I am thankful for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, and now I am coming back to the well-prepared speech. Let's come, and it's not very long, don't be afraid. So, let's come back to the point of democracy. The Book Award for your book, Disturbing Climate. And when I read this, I was a little bit proud because, and I say it very modestly, when the French had the presidency in the second half of 2008, Nicolas Sarkozy and his Minister for Environment asked me as President of the European Parliament to do everything that we finalize the legislation against climate change until the end of 2008. And we succeeded, and my colleagues were not so happy. I remember the chairwoman of the Industrial Committee, my good friend Angelika Niebler. She was not so happy because they had to work hard in the committees. But we finalized the legislation, and then it takes some time. The European procedures take some time. I think in the Philippines everything goes very quickly, but this made the extraordinary situation. And so I had the honor to sign with the then Deputy Prime Minister of the Czech Republic, they had the presidency, I had the honor to sign the 23rd of April of 2009 the European legislation against climate change. And so, dear President, dear Father Pöttering, this brings me in a very modest way a little bit nearer to your studies you have done, and I am thankful for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, and now I'm coming back to the well-prepared speech. Let's come, and it's not very long, don't be afraid. So, let's come back to the point of democracy. Democracy, this is what we also have learned and can observe day by day, has to be built on at least two pillars, and two important pillars, but they are not the only ones. Firstly, serious democratic political parties, and secondly, strong, independent and qualified media. I know that Ateneo and its famous School of Governance, with which the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation has closely worked together, has contributed a lot to the understanding of democracy in the Philippines. And I want to encourage you to continue this work, also convincing young citizens to become members of principled democratic political parties. Because democracy cannot be improved through theoretic discussions alone. It needs citizens as stakeholders in political parties, not as bystanders. Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, dear students, I am deeply convinced that without independent media and qualified media, professionals articulating the needs and requests of the citizens, there is little hope that democracy can become inclusive and protected against the misuse of decision makers. Since its first partnerships and activities in the Philippines, the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation has encouraged and supported its partners in the Philippines to build up and strengthen both key pillars of democracy. There are great names with whom we have been working closely together, like the late Senator Raul Manglapos, former Senator and father of the local government code of the Philippines, Janet Pimentel, former President Fidel Ramos, and last but not least, the Ateneo de Manila University as an institutional partner for many years. The Konrad-Adenauer Asian Center of Journalism at the Ateneo de Manila University has provided highly effective contributions in qualifying media professionals from the Philippines and from many other countries for their important role in democratic societies in Asia. And ladies and gentlemen, democratic societies in Asia and worldwide. And I'm very thankful, Mr. Vice President, you mentioned Ujia, who received, but he could not come to the European Parliament, who received the Sakharov Prize of Liberty in 2008 during my time as President of the European Parliament. He was not allowed to leave the country, was not allowed to leave Communist China. And the day before yesterday, and this was mentioned as well, we had the honor, our delegation and our representative, Mr. Labo is here, and he prepared it in an extraordinarily good way, and Dr. Hofmeister, that we could see Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar. She was not allowed in the 90s to receive the Sakharov Prize. And she came in October last year when we met her for the first time, and now the second time, to receive the prize. And I hope that the day will come that Hujia and all people who are under house arrest or in prison can live on this earth in dignity and enjoy their freedom. And it's our obligation as people living in a free world to defend the human rights of those people who have not the chance, not yet, to live in a free society.
On a culinary tour.